But I think I often say that, there's so much research that shows that student athletes are have lower help seeking behaviors than non-athletes. And so I always, like, as we're developing programs, I think about, like, how do we get the athletes in the door? And I say that jokingly because how do we get all students in the door, especially our marginalized students who haven't had access? How do we get students who don't know that they need to come in? But I really use that lens with working with students around, like, how do we make this appealing to them and how do we help them see the need? And I think about that a lot. Of our Yale students, to me, really function like all of them like Division I athletes in the sense of, like, they have all their clubs, they have a cappella. And I think we have to really think about how do we get them in the door and how do we make this a priority. And so I think a lot of the stuff I do with students in general is really thinking about this as like a life skill, right? Yes. If you're going to study all those hours and try to stay up really late, which please don't do, how are we going to actually help your sleep and how are we going to help that stuff become long-term memory, right? So the angle we always use around all of this is, like, if you're doing all this studying, like for sleep, right? Like if you're doing all this studying, let's actually educate you a little bit around, like, how sleep can actually be beneficial for you to retain this information. Right. Let's talk about that conflict you had with a roommate, right? Like, learning those skills is actually probably going to help you in a job to deal with, someone difficult that you might not, have the skills to deal with. So it's always, like, kind of disguising it, but also making it really accessible for students, I think.